Life gets a lot easier once you start using Shipt same-day delivery. With Shipt, connect with reliable shoppers who go to your fave national and local stores for you. They hand-select everything on your list so you get peace of mind and time back for anything. More time to sip coffee, more time to work out, more time to enjoy your way. Try Shipt today with a 14-day free trial. Download the Shipt app or visit shipt.com. Terms apply.
I've been looking at a case that is not a UFO-related case, but it's one of America's greatest mysteries. And a lot of people will know that there was an aviatrix, a female pilot, Amelia Earhart, who died in 1937 in what remains, I think, one of the biggest aviation mysteries of all time. And the research that I've been doing, the people that I've been talking to, suggest we may soon have an answer, that we may soon find out what happened to this brave woman who disappeared during what was, at the age of 39 for her, an attempt in 1937 to circumnavigate the globe along an equatorial route. And we know that 88 years ago, she was flying in a Lockheed twin-engine Model 10E Electra, and she was just on the final legs of flying across the Pacific from Lae in Papua New Guinea to a place called Howland Island in the middle of the Pacific. And what we've discovered, the people that I'm talking to who I've just interviewed for my show have uncovered recently declassified archives from the Amelia Earhart files that have only just recently been declassified in the National Archives. And they put an entirely different spin on the US Navy's search for Amelia Earhart, which tragically suggests the awful possibility that the US Navy was looking in the wrong place and that Amelia Earhart and her navigator quite probably died of thirst or starvation on a very remote coral atoll about 300 to 400 miles to the southeast of where the search was conducted. It's a place called Nikumaroro Island, and it did actually come up in the search. And a good friend of mine, Jeff Garcia, who's a very forensic investigator who's spent a lot of time, he spent months going through these archival files. He's had the opportunity for the first time to look at the original logs and the reports done by the US Navy when it was doing its search in July 1937 over the Central Pacific Ocean. And the last known radio transmission from Amelia Earhart was, quote, "We are on the line 157337. We're running on line north and south." And she said they were low on fuel. They couldn't find Howland Island, which is where she was flying to, and they couldn't pick up the radio direction finding signal that was being sent out. And so the official presumption always has been that her Lockheed Electra ran out of fuel and ditched at sea somewhere in the vicinity of Howland Island, and she was declared dead 2 years later in January 1939. But the US government records at the National Archives that have been searched by my friend Jeff Garcia, who I've just interviewed for Reality Check, it suggests very, very strongly the Gardner Island hypothesis, now known as Nikumaroro Island, that's part of Kiribati's, the country of Kiribati's group. And it suggests that the message that she sent out was misinterpreted by the US Navy, and that in fact they focused their search to the west and northwest of Howland Island on the assumption that that's where she was. And it turns out, very likely, she was in fact way, way, way to the southeast, below Howland Island, 300 or 400 miles to the southeast. And what's tragic is we now know there were records from the 1940s of a search that was done by a British chap who went to the island. A colonial officer called Gerald Gallagher actually found partial human skeletal remains only a few years after she disappeared. And it included a woman's shoe and a man's shoe, and the bones were consistent with her height. They matched Amelia Earhart's height exactly. And so this has fueled the hypothesis that Earhart and Noonan survived a landing on this reef, became castaways and eventually, tragically, perished on the island. But there is a search which is going to happen in the next few months when the weather improves. There's going to be an expedition go to Niku Island with the permission of the Kiribati government to investigate whether satellite photographs that show some kind of anomaly underwater show, in fact, what is suspected to be Amelia Earhart's aircraft. They think they might have found it. Tragically, while they were sent to Fiji for investigation, and he kept records of what he'd found, for unknown reasons, the remains were lost and never ever found again. So a DNA test can't be done to find out if it was Amelia Earhart's body. So the only way to really find out is to go back to the island, and that's what's been the subject of a request to the Kiribati government for about a year now. And there's an expedition from, I think it's Purdue University, which is going across, I think, in July. And the interesting thing is, my friend Jeff Garcia, who did an interview with me this week, he's pieced together the logs and the records from the official investigation. And tragically, while I have no doubt at all that the US Navy did what it thought it was doing, the right thing, and focused its search in where they thought was the right place, it does appear that there were really good signals to the southeast. There were even flares seen. It does appear that people saw emergency flares being let off, and that there were, in fact, distress calls with a woman's voice asking for rescue, saying that they were probably to the southeast. And unfortunately, this appears to have been lost to history until now. I think a lot of people thought, well, it could be any body that had crashed on the island. And back then, of course, as we know, the war with Japan was happening in the Pacific, and there were a lot of planes crashing all over the Pacific Islands. So to be frank, it wasn't unusual for planes and bodies to be found in different parts of the Pacific. And I suspect the colonial officers' evidence fell through the cracks. I guess we'll know, hopefully, in a few months.
As a chef, I know flavor doesn't begin in the kitchen. It begins on the land. And Westhome's nature-led Australian Wagyu is a story written in the landscape of Northern Australia. Cooking is storytelling, and Westhome Wagyu carries a story of Northern Australia itself. Raw, powerful, and deeply authentic. It's a testament to the passion and care raised in the rhythm of Northern Australia. I'm Chef Maylin from 88 Club in Los Angeles, and I invite you to visit westhome.com/Maylin to learn more. And taste a story only Westhome nature-led Australian Wagyu can tell. That's westhome.com/MEILIN.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
TaxAct filing software and live tax experts can help small businesses easily knock out their taxes. Actually, our experts can help you find deductions and credits for any sized business. Itty-bitty businesses, medium-sized, really big, mid-sized, small businesses, companies with 0 employees, and mom-and-pop conglomerates. Yep, our tax experts can help all of them. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
She won the Distinguished Flying Cross. A lot of people think the DFC in America is only for the military, but before, I think, the late 1930s, they allowed anyone who did heroic things in aviation to win the DFC, and she earned it because she was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean in 1932. And she also was the first person to fly solo from Honolulu, Hawaii to Oakland, California, across the Pacific. And she's such a hero for a lot of women of her generation. She was a real maverick, an aviation trailblazer, an author, an advocate for women's opportunities in a male-dominated field. And as you probably know, she was married to a very rich man, a publisher called George Putnam, so she had the money to buy the aircraft and indulge her habits and her hobby. And she used her fame, though, to challenge gender norms, and she pursued increasingly ambitious flights. And the tragedy is she was on the last leg, really, across the Pacific of what was the most dangerous leg across to Howland Island from Papua New Guinea. And if she'd made it to Howland, I suspect she would have made it back to huge renown in America, and they probably would have named an airport after her. But hopefully now, 88 years on, she will get some resolution of the mystery behind her death.
The Ozarks, it's more than a place, it's a feeling. Here at Silver Dollar City, it's the feeling we get from creating, discovering, and putting on a show. It's that powerful spark we get from exploring something old and experiencing something new. Plan your visit to America's #1 theme park today. Silver Dollar City, the heart of the Ozarks.
Hey, John Stamos and Coulhart here. So look, you're 45 or older and at average risk. You know what? That probably means it's time for colon cancer screening. Look, it doesn't start at 55 or 50 or even 46. If you're 45, you've got to prioritize getting screened, because if it's found early, it's highly treatable. So get going. See if Coulhart is the right test for you.
The best summer memories are made outside, and LL Bean has the clothing and gear you need to make these memories. Their effortless styles are created for summers spent outside with family and friends. Like hand-sewn boat shoes, coastal cotton sweaters, rugged polos, and, of course, the iconic Boatin' Tote, which has been made right here in Maine since 1944. LL Bean. Be an outsider. Visit llbean.com to learn more.
It's funny, I quite often fly across the Pacific to your beautiful country, and I'm sitting in a pressurized 787 or something like that, and I'm looking out of the window down on the Pacific Ocean, and I often think of the bravery of the early flyers who flew across the Pacific with just dead reckoning and celestial navigation when they could see the stars. And this system of navigation that she was using, which was essentially following the sun line on a magnetic bearing, it was fraught with risk, especially flying over water, because you had no way of knowing whether you were being blown south or north, whether you were being blown off course. And the only way, really, to know whether she was getting to Howland Island was to keep an eye out for the drop of coral in the ocean. And it was only 1.5 miles long, Howland Island, so it was a huge risk for her. Incredibly brave, and I think it was almost as brave as what, if you think of a comparison, our Artemis 2 astronauts are doing at the moment, sitting on top of a liquid fuel rocket and flying to the moon. Well, back in 1937, what Amelia Earhart did was equally brave and equally stirring. And it will be lovely to see if there is a resolution to the mystery behind her death. People can watch me on News Nation, and on YouTube they can come to Reality Check with Ross Coulhart, Coulthart.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Selling your car should feel like one less thing on your list, not one more. With Carvana, it is. Just go to Carvana.com, enter your license plate or VIN, and get a real offer down to the penny. No back and forth, no surprises, just an experience you can trust. Like your offer? Accept it. Schedule pickup, and we'll come to you with a check in hand. Your car, your timeline, your terms. Visit Carvana.com to sell your car today.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.